Woo!
Dancing in? You gotta dance in, everybody. I mean, it's only fun if you're dancing in. Welcome to Chick Chat.
Casey!
KC. Hey, you got a drink? Cheers with us tonight. Cheers, my friend and fellow coach. Here you go. Cheers. Okay. I missed it. So if you have joined us, please put in the comments where you're joining us from. Because, you know, her and I have a competition every week. How many people join from Kansas City? How many join from Virginia? So if you've joined us, tell us where you joined from. Because one of us gets to win. Actually, both of us win if you join us. How about that? Let's see who. Hey, Teresa. Yeah, she's with her wine. Cheers to you. Oh, hey, Tammy. Hello. So Virginia Beach and Casey. All right, we're tied right now. We're tied. We are tied. Tell us where you join us from, because, you know, it's a competition every week. So we have some exciting topics tonight. We always have exciting topics. You never know where we're going to go with it. And our topics are expectations, and justice. So expectations and justice. What? What is that? Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
That's my cousin.
Your cousin. Oh my gosh. A blast from the past. Exia. Hi. Haha. Virginia in the house. So we're still tied. We're still tied.
Hi.
Nice to see you, Exia. Beautiful girl. She's a beautiful girl. Anyway.
All right, so we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get deep.
We're gonna get into it now. So expectations, and that is such a broad subject. So I want to know, when you picked it, where are you wanting to go with this tonight, girl?
Okay, so let's get into this, because this is
gonna
be a moment. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I cutting out again?
A little bit.
Well,
sorry
about. Apparently, the internet is not cooperating today.
Yes.
So on Sunday, something happened that I wasn't expecting. That kind of sent me off into a loop of, I had set all these expectations that had not been reached for myself. And so it sent me down this rabbit hole of, why do we set expectations for things we can't control? Mm-hmm. Why do we set expectations for other people, and then when they don't stand up to or live up to them, we're disappointed? Yeah. And how unrealistic expectations are predetermined resentments. That's basically what I came up with.
Predetermined resentment. Ooh. Okay. Wow. That's a lot to unpack. Okay. So let's start off with your first topic about expectations for yourself, right? Isn't that what you started off with?
Basically what I started off with was, are you a person who gives yourself expectations? Like, I know for me, like in 8th grade, I think I had my whole life planned. And then as, 10th grade came, I changed some things. And then junior year, I scratched out and changed some things. And like, you set these expectations of where you want to be and when and who it's going to be with and how many kids you're going to have. And none of it worked out. I don't think anything worked out the way I planned in 8th grade. In fact, the guy that I was going to marry, I never even dated him, so that's odd. But you still have these expectations that we set for ourselves, and then when we don't make it, they're not goals, because they're things we can't control. So goals I can control. I can set a goal, I write it on my board, and I meet those goals. I am a goal girl. That is my thing.
So you're talking about expectations that were wishes.
Right, or things that we expect to happen that we have no control over, or expectations we put on other people that they're not even aware of, and then we're disappointed when they don't live up to them.
Yes. Well, that Right. So I wasn't the girl that was planning my wedding and my children and their names, right? So I was the girl who was just trying, I was kind of in survival mode for a long time. So as a kid, when you're in survival mode, your expectation is just to make it through the day.
Right.
And so those goals and those future visions or expectations aren't realistic anyway, because you have no idea, especially when you have a chaotic family life. So when you have a chaotic family life, like I don't say that that's a good thing, but at the same time, because I didn't know day to day what would happen in my household, I did not have an expectation of anything except for to make it through the day. And so it changes your whole outlook in things. You know what I'm saying? It
I
just
think I was the opposite because we did have so
right.
much chaos. We were always moving, blah, blah, blah. I wanted everything planned because then I felt like I had some control over my future
Yeah.
because I had no control over my present.
Yeah. And see, I wasn't a control freak yet. I yeah. Hello
Yes.
everybody. Thanks for joining. So
Look at
I
all these
wasn't
PC people.
all right. Uh-oh, Casey's winning. Oh no. Come on, Virginia. Come on. But anyway, our expectations, you know, I don't know. I didn't have expectations. I just wanted to maybe graduate and maybe, I just didn't really know. I'm kind of one of those personality type. I think it depends on your personality type too. Like my
Yeah.
personality type is from the hip, improv. I always was like that.
I think that's why you
I
and I
didn't make,
are friends.
huh?
I think
Yeah.
that's why we match up well because that is not
Right.
me.
Right, because you know me, I'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go jump in the car and go off somewhere." That's just kind of the way I have been and am. But I think the being in survival mode is what caused me to be like that, because I just wanted to be in the moment and be like, "Oh, this is a good moment. Let's keep this."
Right.
Let's continue the good moments. Like I was all about having fun, and I was all about making everybody happy because I didn't have a happy home life. So you're about making other people happy and being happy when you don't have that in your home. And so it's kind of my expectation. I didn't expect anything. It was weird. I didn't have any expectations about my future, about anything, and that's kind of a sad thing. I wish I would have. I wish I would have
But
had a plan.
what about now though? Like,
Oh yeah.
and I'm
Well,
asking
once
the answer, but
Well, now I did well because of that. Like I said, when you're living in survival mode, then you do say, I'm not going to do XYZ and vow to do things not like your parents. I vow I'm not going to be like this. And what's so sad about that is I exactly followed that same pattern as them, because that was my training. That was my role model. So unfortunately, I was saying I was making vows that actually were the opposite, that came true. I was speaking out a vow that actually happened. I'm not going to do like my parents. And then I turned out to do it like my parents. And that expectation was very sad. I was like, oh gosh, I did do it like my parents.
dang
Not,
it,
I'm not saying my parents are terrible, terrible people,
right.
but at the same time, I just didn't want to follow in their footsteps. But then I ended up doing that. And my mom had expectations on me that I didn't know about until I was 40 something, you know. Um parents' expectations on you and what their vision of what they think you should do. Like she told me, she goes, "I thought you've disappointed me, and I thought I was successful at the time." She goes, "You didn't become a creative like I thought. I thought she thought I was going to be a writer and an artist because I was always drawing and writing." And she said, "I'm disappointed." And I was just like, wow, that just freaked me out. I was like, what? Because I followed in her footsteps. I became a business person. I, did administration stuff. So, you know, it, it- I now have dropped all expectations um for other people, but I do have them for me. Like I want to have a level of this. And like you said, expectations and goals are different.
They're very
You know,
different.
you're
And I think for me, I think that I tend to have expectations of other people to be equivalent to what I expect of myself, and that gets me in trouble every time. I expect people to be like, not be like me. I expect people to love like me and trust like me and keep their word and all the things that I hold myself accountable for.
yes.
Other people are not going to always do that.
No, and they don't. They don't ever. You know, they don't ever meet up to your standard. You know why? Because they're not walking in your shoes. It's kind of like I just now have dropped all expectations of everybody. You know, unmet expectations is the root of all dissatisfaction.
Okay,
know,
so question, because this came up in a conversation yesterday. I
Mhm.
was saying that this is, I require blah, blah, blah. And the person said, you're putting expectations on me. And I said, those are not expectations. Those are my standards, my requirements. Do
Yeah,
you think there's a difference?
I think there's boundaries and standards. Yes. I don't think those are expectations. If you're putting up a boundary or you know, or a standard, if you're saying this is what my standard is and this is what my boundary is, you can't go past it. Or if you want to meet me in the middle or you want to compromise, that's something else. That's not really an expectation.
That's what I said.
Are you expecting them to change though? If they're not matching your standards, then that's not the person to match up with.
Right. And that's
I
basically what
mean,
I said. I said, I don't think they're the same thing. And this, I'm telling you what my requirements are. And if you don't think you can meet those, then that's okay. But they
right.
said, you're saying the same thing. And I'm like, I'm not. Expectations are not the same as standards or requirements.
Well, the problem with requirements, I guess it just depends on what you are talking about. I get the subject matter you're talking about. I mean,
Right.
there's standards, requirements, and boundaries to keep people safe.
Right.
So is the
Requirements,
requirements
you have to respect me. You have to come at me with some, like level of communication and respect. That's the topic we're discussing.
right?
And they felt like I was putting expectations on them.
Well,
Kind
if
of.
you said I have a level of I need your communication 3 times a day and they can't meet you at that level, yeah, that's you not compromising.
Right.
That is you having an expectation.
Yeah.
That's you not budging on a requirement, I guess you would
Right.
say. So, okay, so she went on an interview today. No expectations. Okay. You're hired. I didn't go in with high, and they actually had high expectations on who they hired. That's great. Wonderful. Congratulations, Teresa. So, I mean, that's how I've expectations are things hoped for.
Yep.
See, expectations, right? They're more like hopes and wishes. They're not goals. Like, and they can be unmet so many times. Okay, is that your dog?
He's stuck. Hold on. He's stuck on top of the bed. He can't get down. Hold on.
Oh. So, as we were talking about, she's expecting her dog to jump off the bed. Just kidding. So, yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I said he was expecting you to help him off the bed.
Right.
His
He gets up on the high
expectations.
bed. He gets up on the tall bed and he can't jump down. So
Doggy. Yeah, exactly.
yes,
His expectation is that when he barks, you're gonna come running. Got it.
Both of them.
Now that's an expectation. The dog just showed a real expectation.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a natural feel. It's a natural feeling to have expectation. Is it? Is it a natural feeling to have an expectation? Because I think if we're, I think if we have, I don't know. I don't think it is.
That's where that is the rabbit hole I've been going down since
I don't
Sunday.
think it is. It's a natural feeling to have expectations. I think it's a natural feeling to hope that things go in this manner, but I don't know if yes, there you go, Tammy. Maybe hopeful. Yeah, it's you can hope that things go in this fashion, but if you're, you know, it's better to not have an expectation so you're not disappointed, right? I mean, isn't it better to have a plan in place? It's better to have a boundary in place. It's better to have a structure in place, but an expectation, because so many different things can happen. I have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I go throughout almost the whole uh, alphabet because sometimes it doesn't work. Strong belief. Let's see.
Yeah, the dictionary says a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. So,
right. We
Webster.
want right. We want what we desire, but it's more hope than anything, because an expectation can let you down. An expectation, and definitely if it involves someone else. An expectation of ourselves, we can strive for something. We can push ourselves to try to meet whatever that is, but we can't do it with another person. Like, we can't make another person meet our expectations unless, you know, uh, even in an employee manager situation, you hope, you have expectations of their performance, but if they don't meet those, then that's where they get, points, and that's where a action plan comes in or whatever, for them to meet a goal of an expectation of their job. That's a different setup, as a manager employee.
Right.
But an expectation in a relationship, an expectation of a family member, an expectation that your friends and other people will have the same heart as you, yeah, that's not realistic in any way, because we're all so different. We're all so unique. We've been made. But what we can expect, I mean, I guess it just depends on how you come at it. If you're having a positive, attitude about, a communication, or, a collaboration, anything like that. I mean, it depends on the people involved. It really
does.
just
And I think that it also boils down to grace, and having enough grace for people that don't meet your expectations, that you realize that that's your expectation and not theirs, and that's your desire, not theirs. And that's, for me, the expectations that I set by this particular time in my life that didn't happen, that was my expectation and not God's timing. And that when it's meant to happen, it will. And stop expecting things that I can't control to take.
right. You unfortunately you cut out there in the middle. So I didn't know what you said. So you kind of cut out there. Sorry about that. So I mean, I want to be hopeful and hope for the best outcome. And
Right.
even if it's not the outcome I want, I try to make the best of the outcome regardless. So even if it didn't meet my expectation, I try to take that as it was a lesson, or it's something, that I can turn into something good. I feel like, depending on what your faith is, I always think that sometimes things don't happen because they're not supposed to, because that's not what the door I'm supposed to go through, and so my expectation is that the best outcome will come to me, that the best outcome is going to happen. And even if it right in the moment looks terrible and it looks like I have the worst thing going on, I just really feel like later on it's going to turn my way, because I'm letting go of some things. I'm working through whatever that expectation is of the outcome, and just letting it be and living in the present, and not worrying about the past and not worrying about the future, but living in the present and right now. I'm expecting today, like I said, but that's because of how I was living in survival mode for so long, that that's how I got through the day, is just going, well, today's another day. I'm here. It's good. Things are good. Can't wait to make it to the next day,
Right.
and by no means, I don't mean I was in danger and all that. That's when it
Right.
sounds like, but I never knew what to expect day to day. So I had no expectations because I never knew what was going to happen moment to moment. So when you're in a fragmented kind of environment, you tend to just use those coping mechanisms. So that's why it's easier for me to get through, having unmet expectations, but I expected a lot from myself. I'll tell you, when I became a mother, I said, I'm going to be this kind of mother. I'm not going to be that kind of mother. I'm going to do these things. And I did, but I was so unhealthy. I was so unhealthy on those expectations I put for myself. I overextended myself. I tried to be superwoman, and it was actually, taking away from my family and not giving to my family, because I just thought that soccer mom lifestyle was what I was supposed to do. Like that was what a successful mother looked like. My expectations of what a mother was, and what a successful one looked like, and what a successful business person looked like, and those expectations on myself were that was terrible.
Yeah, I think that I definitely, that was the case with me because I didn't have an example of a working mom. My mom stayed home, and so for me, it was trying to figure out how to make the two worlds, balance out. And I had a lot of expectations on what that looked like because I had not seen that.
Yeah.
So,
See, I put all those expectations of looking like this, and then I ended up doing my mother's path anyway. So, my mother was a working mom, and so I ended up just going down that same road as her, and so, it kind of just makes you go, okay, that's where we're living out on our unhealthiness, on our unhealthy traits, and that's why expectations from other people are unrealistic also, because you really don't know another person and what they've walked through. And if you're expecting them, to be this way, like I need them to respond to me by text in 10 minutes after I text them. Well, what if they just came out of a relationship or something where that's a trigger to them, and they were expected to by their ex, that was, actually not a very good, healthy relationship. Again, you don't know what people walk through, because people don't just tell you that. They don't just go, hey, this is every single thing I've been through. I mean, it's not realistic.
yeah,
That's not realistic.
Yeah.
People fall into what the world dictates how life should go for you. Exactly. And they haven't walked your shoes. When you haven't walked in the other person's shoes, you can't have those expectations, because you have no idea, where they're coming from, what their paradigm is, and that's been really hard as a middle-aged person dating again and trying to figure out new relationships, because those relationships, we all been at least through two major ones, right? Two or three major ones, right? And and some people maybe even more, to where your expectations, their expectations, I mean, it can be chaotic. So I think it's healthy just to say, hey, listen, let's not have expectations on each other. Let's just let this be in the present. Let's just let this be, let's not put a thing on it,
Well,
but that's my own take on it. That's my own take on it.
and I think that's kind of where I ended up, on Sunday, was because I got off into the whole dating thing and blah blah blah. Huge rabbit hole. But here's the thing: if the next person, part of my last relationship was what it was, and the next one, it's like I'm not putting expectations on it because I'm not trying to change the next person. I'm just going to walk away. Like if there's obvious red flags, like you and I have talked about 1,000 times, that we saw in the past, and we're like, oh, red flag. Like, oh, it's fine. I'm gonna keep, Now I'm like, no, like I'm not gonna try to change you. I'm gonna tell you, hey, that bothered me and that blah blah blah. And if you keep doing it, bye.
Yeah.
And I think that's why at 4 years I'm still single, because I don't want to have the whole conversation of these are my expectations. Well, I can't do that. Well, these are my expectations. Well, I'm not gonna do, like, just be you and I'm gonna be me. And we're gonna come to the table and we can sit down, we can have conversation, great. But I'm not gonna try to change anybody. I'm not gonna get with anyone on potential.
Right.
You either have or you don't. There's no more, oh, I see potential in you. No, been there, done that.
Well, we have, we evolve, right? So as we're evolving, so does the expectation of what a relationship looks like
Right.
evolves. So, no longer, because we don't want to have, you know, children and,
Nope.
all
Yours
those
or
things.
mine.
Right. 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 When you're at this age, we've got adult children. We're probably got grandchildren. I do. And, and other people do. So it's a whole different dynamic. So you can finally be you, kind of like,
Right.
hey, let's meet let's meet in the middle here. Let's not have an expectation on how you're going to behave, how I'm going to behave. Let's not have the expectation that I mean, I've heard this so much when I was dating a lot, with guys saying that they would meet a girl and the first thing she'd say is, I just want to get married. I want to be married. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you kidding? And they're like, that's their expectation, was that when they went back to dating, that it was instant relationship, instant marriage kind of thing. And I think, and then the guys were like, whoa,
I don't
hold
even
up.
know that I want to come to my house, much less get married.
Right.
That's just me now.
I mean, that's the thing. That's how we evolve. But when we're young, remember when
Right.
we're teenagers, we just care about who likes us and who we like. Okay?
Right.
That's all we care about at the time. We're not thinking about who's going to make my best husband. Well, some of the girls did, and they were smarter than me. But anyway, they were a little smarter, but they were already like eyeing the ones, he's probably going to be successful. So I probably should line up with him and get married to him. But I mean, it's so funny because, like, me personally, I was just like, hey, I didn't like anybody.
My expectations were very low.
Yeah, mine too. And that actually was to a disservice. Right. Right. So you go through those stages. You just care about who likes you instead of who's right for you, and so those expectations go away, you know, um, as we get older. And unfortunately, a lot of us, have an expectation. And I think when people have been married since high school, as they evolve, those relationships evolve, and their expectations change too on with each other. But if they have good communication and they have
Right.
good, and they think everything is worth it, like what we built is worth it, to stay in it, and if it's a healthy relationship, I think it's great to talk about what your expectations might be, with each other, kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I don't
so
know,
we're
because unfortunately I'm divorced twice. So, yeah. So it's kind of like, it's my expectation though for myself way back when was that I'll be married forever to the same person and have children. I didn't meet that quota for myself. And that disappointed me. I was disappointed in myself. I dealt with that for quite a few years. Like, but I just couldn't make it work. We just couldn't make it work. It wasn't just me by myself. So, I had an expectation on that. Um, and I was disappointed, and I have been disappointed about that. So that's why going forward, it's something I've learned. It's like, okay, no longer have that expectation. Let's just get to know one another. Let's just,
yeah.
figure it all out.
And don't you feel like that now that we've
You cut out again, sweetie. Say
we
that
worked on
again.
ourselves.
Say it
Don't you
again.
feel like, don't you feel like since we've worked on ourselves, our expectations are lower because we don't require quite as much?
Yes.
Like the conversation yesterday, he said something about, well, I'm not gonna be, I can't be calling you every day and seeing you 3 or 4 times a week. I'm like, oh, I don't want you to. That's too much. Like my expectations are like, let's touch base once a week or so. Like I just don't require, my expectations are not quite as high as they were back in the day.
So instead of saying expectations, maybe that's where the verbiage needs a change.
Right.
Like, hey, for us to have good communication, could we talk once a week, or could we meet up, twice a week? Would that be possible? And if
Right.
it's not. You have to be okay with the no. See,
Right.
there's the thing. You have to be okay with the no. And if you're not, then that is time to move on. Like if you're not okay with the no, then move on.
It also goes back to, like he said, the last person he was talking to expected to hear from him every day, expected to see him 3 or 4 times a week. That was her expectations. And mine are not that high.
Well, we've touched on this before. That's an attachment style. That means that
Right.
attachment style is, oh, I'm needy, so where's the healthy balance of attachment styles?
Right.
Now, I mean, you can be healthy and unhealthy. If you're emotionally unavailable, you can be all the way on the other side of the spectrum of not needing all of that and not even wanting all of that. That means you're not emotionally unavailable. So
Yeah.
it,
Well, yeah, and I think again, just be who you are, and if it matches, it matches. If it doesn't,
that's right. Well, right. That's right. That's where people have to get the courage to say what they need to say. They have to have the courage to say that here it is. Here's the not expectation. Here is my boundary, or I would like this.
Availability. Like for me, I'm not available to see you 3 or 4 times a week. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So
different people have different needs and goals. Right. Then that just means that you don't match up. It just means you don't match up. And it's okay. Like I would say that when I was dating a lot, a couple years ago, I'd be like, hey, it's okay. If we don't like each other, like after our first meeting, we don't like each other, or we don't think it's going to work. Hey, peace, I'm not going to be devastated. I hope you're not going to be devastated. Let's just part ways and we're good. It's fine, because as long as your self-esteem is not wrapped up into how much another person pays attention to you and how much another person likes you, you have to keep your self-esteem grounded. It's not fair to another person. If you're not happy with yourself, you can't be happy with anybody else. Your expectations will never be met because you have to like yourself. You have to be loving yourself. And then I don't mean in a narcissistic way. I mean in a healthy, hey, I like me. I can spend time with me,
Absolutely. I like me a lot. This is why I can't give you 3 or 4 times a week.
I got stuff to do,
Right.
And it's okay. Like if what's nice about that is then when you do see each other or you do connect, I mean, it makes it okay. It makes it good,
Right.
Not that I think absence makes the heart grow fonder, but that's what they say,
Quality versus quantity.
Right. If all we're doing is sitting and watching Netflix.
Girl, my TV doesn't even come on half the time.
Yeah, Netflix. There ain't no Netflix and chill.
No. Okay, so we are halfway through about.
So halfway through.
We should
okay.
Switch to the other topic at hand because
the other topic is a heavier one, which
and
is
I don't know where you're going to go with this. And I'm kind of curious.
And we didn't talk about it. Okay, so when you see people doing things that they get away with.
Oh, girl.
And you feel like they haven't had accountability, and you feel like that some sort of justice needs to come, and you're not seeing that. How do you react to that? Yes.
This kind of plays in ironically with
Kind
my
of does.
input on Sunday, because that was my thought, was how come this person is now gotten to, which assumed blessing, whatever. I do tend to see people that I think are not great people, what seems to be continually blessed, or
Yes.
karma is not working. And sometimes I have to remind myself that exactly that is not
That's it, Lisa.
Stay in my lane. Stay in your lane. Don't be sidetracked by something that's not my place.
Right. Right. And see, I go to Romans 12:19, which is, vengeance is not mine, says the Lord.
Sometimes.
Well, but we may not ever see the
Right.
vengeance.
Exactly.
We may not ever see the justice, and we have to be okay with that. And so what that comes down to, as we're talking about justice, and I have an article, and I'll share the link to it. It's a great article, and I'm not going to read it verbatim, but really, justice and righteousness kind of go together, right? So, I now care about justice, my justice, versus caring about seeing the other person get justice, Now, obviously, when there's, a crime committed against you. Last year, my bike was stolen. And I felt so about that. I was like, why would they steal my bike? How mean. That's just a mean thing to do.
Right.
I was enjoying that bike. Why would they steal it? There were other bikes there. Why did they steal mine? Blah, 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 and guess what? I filed a little report. I know the police aren't going to find that bike. I know that bike went to who knows who has it and what they're doing with it. And I had to come to grips with it because I was so upset about it. I mean, I'm still a little bit upset about it, right? And it's just a bicycle, okay? It's just a bike. It's no big deal. But I had to let go of that. I had to let go of that somebody out there. You're returning the bike. Thank you. I appreciate you returning my bike. But I also thought to myself, I have another bike in Kansas that I'm going to be getting in the summertime. Now, that was 6 months from that time, and that I didn't get to ride the bicycle that I bought. It was with my money that I earned. And, I had that injustice kind of thing. Like, that's just not fair. Why do people get away with this? But I don't know all the whole circumstance behind that. And I had to think of it differently. I had to say to myself, they must have really needed that bike more so than I did. Maybe they were going to do something nefarious with it. Maybe they were selling it. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to think blessings on them and pray for that person that did that to me, because I need to, because I'm not going to let it keep me up at night and ruin my peace. Right. I'm going to just let it go, because it's just a material thing, and like I said, maybe it'll become, I just pray that the blessing of it goes to somebody that deserves it, needs it, whatever. I don't know the circumstances, just like the people that you see are panhandling all the time. Now we know now that they're making big bucks doing this, right? They probably drive Mercedes. We don't know, but at first, in the beginning, I would give money to, and people go, why would you give money to them? I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it doesn't matter. It matters how I handle it. It matters in my heart how it goes, right? It kind of matters in that way, it more so than what's going to happen with it. Now, I'm not gonna, if I know somebody's a drug addict, I'm not gonna hand them, $10, I mean, if I know that, I'm not gonna go, here, have that, and go do that, you know, but for justice, like when is it justice for us? And I know this is a heavy topic maybe for you because of some things I know you've went through with justice. And it's like, how do you handle that? How do you go forward when something has been done to you or taken from you that was very devastating? You know, and sometimes you feel like it's not fair. Like, this
Oh,
is
I,
not
I,
fair.
I say it's not fair. I know what the person you're talking about. I say that with that person constantly because it's not fair. But here's the thing: I have to trust that God has my back, and that that person will be dealt with the way that they're intended to be dealt with. And I have to stop assuming that the things I see as their blessings could be completely different. I don't know the backstory, and I
Right.
have to believe that the person who is constantly stealing from people and doing what they do, that's not for me to decide what their punishment should be, and they
Right.
will be dealt with when the time is right.
Right.
So I have
Right.
to, when I get off into that whole, I'm a good person, I do the right thing, they don't, it's not fair, I am immediately reminded, because I hear God say to me, it's not your problem. I will deal with them.
Right.
But then I get off into but if they don't believe in you, how are you going to do, and it goes off into a whole nother thing.
Right.
But all I can control is me. All I can control is my thoughts and I just try to, like I said, I stay in my lane. I don't let myself get sidetracked too long because I can go down the it's not fair thing all day long.
Right. Right.
I did this and I did that and here we are. But and I can have a pity party with the best of them when
Yeah,
it
me
comes to
too.
that person. But the reality is we don't have any control over the justice.
No, we don't. We don't. We really don't. And we can, it can seem like we do. And I mean, I've seen so many stories of, you know, young men, one shot another and the mother forgave the other son and went to the prison and visited him. And I think when he got out of prison, she even had him come to her house. I don't know. It, I've heard stories like that. It's all about forgiveness, right? So, so it comes down to some forgiveness, a level of forgiveness, like to not wish, those things. Like, I have some things going on in my life that I'm like, okay, God, when are you going to turn the tide on this? Because it looks like they're just getting away with everything and they're getting away with it and they get away with it with this and they get away with it that, but they're really not. Uh, the time will come. I might have to be on the other end of it, kind of forcing some justice, I guess you would say, but I'm waiting on God to tell me the when, and I'm waiting on God on how to speak about it, like how to talk about it. So for me personally, I have to lean into God in those places because if I don't have him, I don't have peace. If I don't have that grounding, I don't have peace because you can't wish bad things on other people and get good things yourself. You just
No, you can't.
can't. You
We had
just
that
can't.
um, that situation when my brother was killed. A lot of people we're mad. We want to blame the kid that hit him, that killed him, blah blah blah. Okay, well, first of all, he died too, so his family is hurting just as much as we are.
Oh,
And
I'm
I
sorry.
watched those people harbor that anger and that hurt and that poison, and they have gotten off into a hole. And for those of us who were like, we forgive the kid, he did something stupid, blah, 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 we have peace about it. And that's the thing, is all that poison doesn't hurt the other person.
It doesn't.
It just hurts you.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. Wishing bad things to happen to somebody else isn't going to make your life better. You know,
No.
Being in I am such an encourager. When I see someone else succeeding, yay for them. I'm
Right.
glad. Even if they've done something to me, said something about, I don't, it doesn't matter. It's not my business. It's not, I want to be known as somebody, that thought good of most people, and
Right.
if I want to be if I want to be forgiven, if I, I'm going to have to show that. I'm going to have to show the same. If I want people to treat me that way, Jesus's, whole ministry was about loving your neighbor. Somebody strikes you, turn the other cheek, and that's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not, it's
No,
definitely
it's
not
not.
easy, but it's important. It's important for us to figure out, the justice of, it feels unjust, like things are not, you know, this is not fair, and injustices are happening, which happens. And if you read the Bible at all, I mean, it talks about all the injustices that have happened in even what's going on with us in our lifetime now. I mean, it's the same injustices, really. If you were to look at all the stories in the Bible, it's the same. It's not there. It's everybody's like, oh, it's such a worse time. It's like, no, if you read back to the Old Testament, you'll see it was just as bad and had the same issues. I mean, same issues. I mean, really.
Well, and it also talks about how we're not the judge and jury. And I think
No,
that's what we forget, especially some churches, some Christians. It's like, we're not here to judge. I'm so against this. Well, you can be against it. It's not your place to judge someone else's
right.
decisions and their behavior. So again, stay in your lane. Worry about you. I think Carla said, worrying about yourself is a full-time job. Yes, it is, girl. I have to keeping myself in line is a full-time job. And I used to be like, oh, why does she do that? Blah, blah, blah. And the reality was, it was all the triggers of other people doing things that were triggering myself.
Well,
And now I don't have the need to do that anymore.
when I heard that phrase, I don't want to be bitter. I want to be better. I can't be bitter about those things, because sometimes we make choices in that those things that we think are injustices. We've made a choice somehow, somewhere. We have also participated in something, and sometimes we haven't. Like, what happened to your brother. There's some things that happened, and you guys forgiving. I mean, that says a lot to your family. That's the thing. Forgiveness is the key to that. We can sit around and say it's not fair, it's not fair. I just believe that eventually the blessings will turn. I will get the tide will turn, the blessings will come, but I also want them to be blessed. I don't want to just stay and go, ha ha ha, I'm being blessed and you're not. No, I want them to be blessed too. I mean,
I'm not there
I
yet.
truly, well, I know.
Hey,
Hey,
is it?
Isabel. Yep.
Yeah,
That's okay. We're glad
I'm
you're
working
here.
on that. I am working on that. I am not there yet. I still, like Real Talk Kim talks about how she used to pray her husband would be hit by a train. I'm still there. I still sometimes hope that he gets hit by, not my ex-husband, let me be clear.
Yeah.
But a certain person gets hit by a train, and then I have to, again, redirect my thoughts to, that's not how we pray.
Yeah, Isabel, I like that one, talking about, pay attention to the log in your own eye instead of the splinters in others. I had to work through it. I mean, there's no doubt. Forgiveness sets you free, then God gives you peace, right? Because if you carry around that bitterness and that unforgiveness, justice isn't going to come for you. I mean, even if you're bitter and unforgiving, even if a person gets prosecuted and sent away to prison for the rest of their lives, you still are in a prison. You're still harboring that prison mentality. You're the one stuck in the prison right along with them. What if they get to prison and they have some kind of freedom and they have some repentance and they have, I mean, and if you're bitter and you're not willing to hear that, you're still stuck in that prison, So even in the court systems and in systems, you could still be the one that's in prison and not them. You just don't know how that works,
Well, and I think over the last year, and I don't know if this person's still on there, I don't think they would be offended by me saying this, but I used to think, well, you've been to prison, you're a bad person, like blah 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 blah. And in the last year, I've met several people who have done time and are now out, and they're amazing people. And it's made me think differently about, people who get second chances and people who, we all make mistakes. Sometimes they're just more detrimental than others. Sometimes we
Right.
make mistakes and we don't get caught, but someone else does.
That's
Or,
right. That is right.
and
That
then
is right.
we have to be very cautious of labeling people based on their past. Mind your
Ooh,
damn business.
Isabel. Yeah, Isabel got she shared a novel. That's good.
They're asking, not necessarily that they aren't seeking guidance. I told my kids to only seek guidance advice from people you're wanting to trade places with in life. Oh, yep.
Yep.
And I think here's the thing: it's it's just a perfect example. People's past is their past.
That's right.
And we
don't get to judge.
No.
Do you want somebody to judge you for your past? Do you want somebody to bring up every single thing you've done wrong? I mean, do you want someone to constantly be in your ear? Well, we know the enemy does that. He's constantly in our ear condemning us. There's no condemnation in Christ Jesus. And so, I mean, that's where that comes from. It's like, you have to get free from that. The justice doesn't come from us. Just like I said, Romans 12:19, the vengeance comes from the Lord. And if you have to seek that out, or else you're not going to have that peace. It's just not, you're never going to feel that if you're going to continue to be bitter about everything. I don't want to be judged for my mistakes. Positive. That's right. That's right as well.
Here's the thing about past and mistakes, and there's really no level. If you read the Bible, lying is as much a sin as murder. So you can look at someone's past that did crazy things in my eyes because their circumstances were very different. Isabel and I have vastly different stories. However, there's no judgment because I've never been in that situation. Like, you don't know how you would act if your circumstances were different. So stop being so judgmental, on your high horse, whatever you want to say about people and their decisions, because we don't know until we've been there.
Well, peace out, Teresa.
Bye, Teresa.
Thanks for joining us.
And I think the bottom line is that our justice is not necessarily the justice.
No. And even if, okay, say you're not a believer, okay, that's fine. Even in every other spirituality, it talks about having that inner peace. It talks about having that inner peace, right, and not holding other people's accountable to our own peace. You have to have that peace. How do you get that? How do you work through that? Yes, of course we get angry. We get mad when there's injustice done to us. Of course, we're talking about, when people do us wrong and we want justice and we want it to happen. And, sometimes that doesn't come. So we have to be okay with that. I mean, right, just getting okay with that and not ruminating on it and not giving it our energy. Right. That's the thing. And I mean, I can get riled up about things. Well, if you ever in the car with me, anyway. Are we speaking justice today? Yes, that's what we're talking about, Isabel, is justice. So, I mean, I'm not perfect and I don't have inner peace all the time. I can get, and I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they said that. And they, and I can get riled up too, but I have to come back to, okay, it's not my problem most of the time. Right. Most of the time, it's not my problem. And most of the time, I don't need to get in the midst of whatever it is, right? Right. But I do believe in speaking out truth. Like, I believe I like to speak truth. Truth has to come. For something to change, truth has to come. So to get justice, there does have to be a level of truth spoken. There has to be a level of contrition. And if the person doesn't ever hear the truth about it, how can they have any repentance? How can they do anything about it? I mean, how are they, what do you think about that?
think that, I try to ask myself, does it affect me directly? If it doesn't, not my business. Is somebody else in danger or being hurt? No, not my business. If I see someone being bullied or whatever, yeah, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to stand up for that person. But really, I've learned to just kind of be like, okay, that's their thing. Like, the person that we know that goes around and just does things that they shouldn't be doing, that's not my problem.
Right.
I just have learned to step back from that where, used to I'd be like, oh, wow, I need to tell somebody because this isn't right. And, oh gosh, the world's, and now I'm like, no, it'll
Well,
play
I
out.
mean, if you're directly involved, I mean, I feel like there's a level, I had a situation happen last week where I felt like I had to speak up a truth, like, hey, people have to be accountable, but I feel like they have to be accountable, but it's not up to me for their justice.
And most of the time they're not going to be.
It's not up to me on what justice comes, but
Right.
but did I feel the need to speak truth and to try to say, hey, there's some accountability needs to come here? Yeah, I did. I did feel like I needed to say something. And so what if I never see the justice of that? I don't care. like
Right.
it's not mine. It's not mine to see.
It's as simple as saying, that's wrong, right? And then they ignore you and you go on. Because, yes, they do. If they don't, you just made it obvious it was. And if they're not going to stop doing it, then they don't care. And I think that's where we have to say, for us, you and I, God sees what they're doing here. Do your thing. I'm out. But I think that, I don't know. I just feel like there's so many examples that you can just get wrapped up in so many things. And then you're the one that's like, in the hamster wheel and they're just living their life.
Well, and what I always hope and I pray for is like, just like when I talk about, you can't be codependent and net people and not let them take the consequences of what they need. Because if you don't let them drop to the bottom, they can't bounce back up because they haven't learned anything. And so if you keep on saving them, they're never going to learn anything. So, justice will come when they decide, it's really kind of up to them and to accepting the consequences of something. It's not up to us. It's not for us to make them, Let's see. I know she's got a lot. I like the way she writes.
Everyone else strips us from freedom. I dare to make this statement. You are the only thing keeping you captive. 100%. No narrative can go against this, even if you are the mercy of a horrible experience in life. You are free to choose peace and freedom from the following footsteps of Christ. That's my girl.
That's right. That's
yes.
right.
And that it goes right back to the whole thing.
Right.
We all control our own. This is it.
Right.
I'm responsible for me. You're responsible for you. Now, I think that the umbrella of that are our children, because to a certain extent, for so many years, we are responsible for them. But I'm not responsible for what my man does. I'm not responsible for what my dad does. I am not responsible for what my sister does, even though she's a saint. It's just.
Well, you see you've seen the movie War Room, right?
Yeah.
And that guy. He, not to give it away, sorry, no, if you haven't seen it, no spoiler alert, but if the guy hadn't, it's up to us to take the accountability. It's up to us to work out the justice part, right? It's right. Up to, if we did it, I'm saying, it is up to you to take the consequences. And you don't ever know. You think that would be so horrible to become accountable, but sometimes your accountability is what's going to save you. Your accountability is going to elevate you. Your accountability is going to, change your life. People that try to skirt everything, skirt. Isn't there a song like that? skirt. I don't know. Anyway, but it's like we have, if they keep getting away with it, they're never going to be a better person. they're
No.
never going to be who they need to be. They're never going to elevate to how God made them and in their purpose. And that's what is so sad to me, is that people that just think they get away with it, they never get away with it. And they're
Well,
not getting away with it because they're not seeing the blessings that could come,
and
and
that's
it's
the
just,
problem with bailing your kids out every time they get in trouble. They never learn. Oh, there's, speaking of my kid. Yes, girl. Amen.
yes, amen. Exactly. The power of prayer.
Your kid. I've always told my kids, and Caitlin will tell you, if you're in jail, don't use your one call on me because I'm leaving you there.
Yeah.
And my kids know that. Better call dad or grandpa because I'm going to leave you there because you did the crime, now you do the time. You're not going to learn if I keep bailing you out. And I think there's so many parents that they just keep bailing their kids out. They never learn to be accountable.
Yep, it is what exactly. I agree with you, Isabel. Totally.
Yeah.
What is and what we do and what it makes the difference. There you go.
Yep.
I agree. Skirt. Sorry. So yeah, that's our new thing. Skirt. Anyway.
If I know, I'm calling Jason. You better call Jason because I'm leaving your butt there.
Yeah. My I had that happen with one of my children. I said, this will be your first and last time. Yeah. I mean, I didn't say don't call me. I said it'd be your first and last time. And it was my first and last time. He had to pay the consequences. He'll tell you right now that lesson that he learned on that we did not net him. We all said, nope. We're not paying. We're not bailing yet. Sorry, you did the thing. So you do the thing, so he did. And he
like,
he
thanks,
learned.
Mom.
Exactly.
He was like, say names.
Yeah, I have 3 children. You don't know which one. Anyway. Well, he knows which one, but right. The thing is he learned. It was a lesson for him. The justice was, he felt like the whole time he's going, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't have did this and they did that. And then it wasn't until he had to stay in there. That he understood the accountability part of it. And then he tells you now that was the best thing that happened to him. So, you just don't ever know. People are like, oh, they should get off and they shouldn't have to do time. And sometimes you need to do the time to learn something, I shared on my page today, inmates singing, Gyra, which I love that song. And, it's amazing. It's like, and I hate to say that I was like a little envious. I'm like, wouldn't it be great to just sing worship songs and like read your Bible all day? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I've thought about it. Not that I want to do anything to get there, but what I'm saying is, it's like, it's kind of like, man, I would also probably want to make the best of it,
Well, I can say I'm a pretty tough chick, but I ain't going to jail. I wouldn't last. You need to say
I do not want to go to jail. I mean, don't get me wrong, people. I don't want to go to jail. Okay, I'll just go to a retreat somewhere. I don't want to go. Call it a retreat.
If you're gonna send me to jail, you better give me more than a Bible.
Yeah, but I mean, it has transformed people's lives. Like them coming to accountability of what they were doing wrong. Sometimes it's taking people off of drugs. Like they needed to be out of that life. They got put behind, jail and they dried out and then they didn't have their addiction anymore. Sometimes it turns out, it's a testimony, no doubt, Yes. Go to a
I'm calling Izzy if I go to jail. I'm calling my girl.
Well, I'm trying to put together a retreat, so no worries. It won't be jail-like. Anyway.
I don't know. I think
lots of people get saved and changed in jail.
If you listen to my podcast coming up in October, you'll hear 2 stories of people that have been to prison who are now amazing people. It's
well, there you go. Injustice sometimes is for the best.
it
Mhm.
works.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't.
And sometimes it doesn't. And
And sometimes people get off and they end up spending the rest of their life still making stupid decisions because they've never had the consequences.
right. And so that's what's so sad though, is that they're never walking out in their abundant blessings. Instead,
Nope.
they're always trying to avoid judgment. They're always trying to avoid, whatever. They're escaping, they're what they're supposed to be walking in. And it's sad. It's really sad to me. And that's the time I pray. We talk about praying. That's the time I pray. Not so long ago, I had a moment. I was like, oh, I want this person to pay. I'm gonna write this, and I'm gonna say this at this time, and they're going down. You know,
Yeah.
and then you know, as I was saying it out of my mouth, I was like, ooh, that sounded really bad.
Oops.
Really bad. I was like, yeah, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it was funny, but I'm sorry. like I just wanted, you know, ah. So our society does make it really hard for felons to do better though. How so, Caitlin? I'm just curious.
I
I don't know if our
I think
society makes it hard, does it?
our
Our
system
society?
means the system. The system makes it hard.
Reformation in our systems as a whole is horrible, but if someone wants to change or do better, they can do it anywhere. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you have to make,
Isabel used to work in a prison, so she knows.
yeah, jobs, schooling, etc. I mean, yeah, once you have that mark on you, once you have that felon mark, I mean, it's hard. The system does. They can't get jobs. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that. But they shouldn't have done it in the first place. I mean, I believe in justice and that consequences have to come, at the same time.
I think we need to have this topic again because we're over and that comment I totally disagree with, but
It's fine. No, but what I'm saying is there are consequences.
I used to think that way. Let me not be mistaken.
Right.
I used to think
Society
that
is so
way
much
until
more.
I've heard some of these stories and I'm like, huh. So
She said that's judgment. Is it judgment if we have to keep, like, people don't want to hire felons? Is that judgment? Is it?
I don't know that that's the judgment part she's talking about. I think you saying they shouldn't have done it in the first place. I think that's judgment. And I think that I used to feel
Is it judgment that if they shouldn't have done it, they shouldn't have the consequences?
I don't think that's what she's saying. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Izzy, but I think she's saying that us saying they shouldn't have done it in the first place is judgment because we don't know what level.
Okay, they served their time. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And see, I'm willing to listen on, plus the courts protect the felony now.
And I think, again, and I can say this because I know both of these people, I think your part of the scenario makes a difference in how you look at it, I think.
Right.
So,
well, okay, so I'm a police officer's daughter. So I guess that's where my paradigm comes from, right?
And see, I'm a police officer's sister.
And so I go, you do the crime, you do the time. I mean, I'm used to that little saying, you do the crime, you do the time.
And now I've had a change of, and I have also been very close with a felon who still does felon crap. So that's kind of the perspective I have. And now that I've met people that have done the time and are totally different people and are making,
no, and I believe that there's injustice sometimes in the justice system. I'm not even talking about the justice system really, because there's injustices in the justice system. There's no doubt. There are people behind bars right now that shouldn't be.
100%.
And there are people that are not behind bars that should be. I mean, so I don't think it's a good balance, right?
Police officer and correction officer. Yeah, Izzy was a correction officer.
Yeah, is a different experience with the criminal. Because, right. Changes the way you feel and view things. That's right.
So I think we have a topic here we need to revisit. Because there are a lot of
the time doesn't fit the crime. And I agree with that. That's what I was saying. I don't agree that every I mean, it does depend independently, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I think, well, I, I've tried to live XYZ. I never get away with, I never got away with anything. I stole some. Okay. So when I was little and I was 6 years old, I stole some candy from the drugstore because my friend was with me. We walked up to the little drugstore, stole some candy, right? Get home, eating the candy. Well, I don't get away with anything ever. I had stolen cough drops. So my mom could smell the cough drops and ask me, where did I get the the candy cough drops?
Were they the cherry ones?
Yes. And I was like, what do you mean? I had them. And she's like, no, you didn't. Where did you get those? And I had to go back up to the store and I had to give the money back and give the cough drops back. I was like, God, I get away with nothing. Get away with nothing.
Anyway. Me either, girl. Why don't break the law? I get caught. There are people been driving around with expired tags since COVID, and 2 days in, I get pulled over.
Right. Right. Give it to God and let him sort it out. That's right.
Yep.
Oh, here she goes. I was in and out of the juvenile so much by the age that I was being sent away. Oh, sorry, Isabel.
She's going to be on my podcast too, coming up, just FYI.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes. So I think I think we have another good topic. So there you are. Yeah.
And I think that the more exposure you have, like I said, a couple of years ago, only being exposed to 1 or 2 felons who are not any better off than they used to be, I had a certain view. And now that I've met so many people that have had a past who are now amazing people, it changes the way you look at things. I think it changes the perspective. I think it changed my judgment level. I think it changed how I see those people because now I have had more exposure to a different side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been on both sides myself. So, being on the police officer side, and on the other side. So,
right.
It's like you said, it's individual. Yeah. Let's see. It didn't happen because I escaped and ran away a week before they sent me away, but I have been around both sides of the system. Yeah. Well, then I think she should be our guest if we talk about it again. What do you think? I think you should be the perfect other host for this topic. So, yes, let's do that. Would love to.
In the future.
We'll plan it in the future. That's right. Thank you guys for joining us and all the people that stayed on. And again, if you watch this later, #replay, tell us where you're joining us from. And thank you, everyone. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And
one thing, next Tuesday, I will not be on the show. So if somebody wants to co-host with Sandy in my place, let her know. I will be in West Virginia. Actually, no, we'll be leaving for West Virginia. Oh, I might be here that Tuesday. The following Tuesday, I won't.
The following Tuesday.
We'll
talk about it.
I won't be leaving this Tuesday. I'm leaving Wednesday.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you. And if you could share this out, we would really appreciate it on your Facebooks or, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. So everybody have a wonderful, safe rest of your week. And I hope it brought us to thinking about other things. And I hope you all take care. All right.
And check out Sash Coaching, and the Motivational Mentor podcast drops every Friday on Spotify.
And there you go. She got it. All right. Bye. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.